Yep, audio's coming through on the Twitch side. Let me make sure audio's coming through on the Facebook side. Yep, and then I'm just going to trust that it is just rolling as we get going. Okay, so welcome everybody to IGDA Los Angeles Town Hall 2020. Fully digital, exactly as we predicted a year ago we'd be trying to do more of. So proud to be sorting out some of the wrinkles in the process. And of course, going forward, you'll see it get smoother and smoother as we do more types of these things. We'll talk more about that in the time ahead. Obviously, every year we're kind of in a continual process of renewal and evolving to keep up with changes happening in the game space, changes happening in the LA community. We are fundamentally an organization designed to serve our community and figure out what we can do to help the people who are here. And so, you know, if and this is part of why I'm so glad you're all here with us in the town hall live. If the people who joined us were disproportionately a certain type of skill demographic, background, et cetera, that's who we're going to kind of be getting feedback from what we're going to do in the year ahead. And we're excited to share those plans because this is not just us telling you what we're doing. This is really us running our plans by you to see what are you excited about? What would you like us to do differently that we haven't brought up? And trying to add and create those plans in ways that's going to help better improve your careers, your community, your opportunities going forward. But now I think we're ready for our introductions. Tiffany.
Before we introduce, I just want to say it should show on your screen right now all the places you can find us online. There's a lot of them, and that's sort of a thing now. So please feel free to screenshot this. This information will also probably be posted in a Facebook group or something somewhere, or you can look at the VOD on Twitch later. The bottom of the screen, you'll see our Twitch and Twitter handles. We're not doing much with Twitter tonight, but we are doing Twitch. This is the agenda for tonight. Please feel free to screenshot and refer back to it as we go through. But like Chris said, board introductions, starting with our chair.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris DeLeon. In addition to being your chair for IGDA Los Angeles here in 2020, I've been with our board for the past 2 years. Earlier in my career, I got started as a technical game designer at Electronic Arts, then an early hire at a company that became PopCap San Francisco, made some indie games for iPhone and iPad, taught a while at Georgia Tech, and established some collectives that are still going to this day, 10, 15 years later. These days, I'm the founder and organizer of HomeTeamGameDev.com, where people build games with mentorship and learning materials around the world, fully online as well. Outside IGDA, I'm also with Indiecade as our alumni network lead. Before that, I was one of our speaker curators for the Arts Festival.
And next up, we have our vice chair, Miranda.
Hi, everyone. My name is Miranda Du. I am excited to be joining the IGDA board this year. I'm currently working at Treyarch as an associate producer. I have a background in AR, VR, and themed entertainment, so I'm really excited to serve you guys this year.
Yay. And then David, our secretary, is up next.
Hi, everyone. Well, I've been working in the Los Angeles game development community for about 4 decades now and counting. Started as a freelance game designer programmer while attending Cal State Northridge. And then went on to form my own company, which became Electronic Arts' very first affiliated label publishing company. Since then, I've gone on to be a producer at Disney, Cyber Dreams, New World Computing, Activision, Abandoned Mobile, and the Spin Master Toy Company. Most recently, I've taught game design at the Los Angeles Film School and the Art Center College of Design, and have been a consultant on projects ranging from being an expert witness on the Magic the Gathering patent design infringement lawsuit to helping the Boy Scouts of America create their game design merit badge to even working on location-based puzzle rooms, as well as being a spokesperson at GDC and at Casual Connect about ageism in the game industry. And I've been serving here on the board for 3 years now.
Awesome. I'm next up. So my name's Tiffany. I'm the Treasurer and Events Chair here at IGDA LA. I've been on the board for a little over a year, almost 2 years. Time is a social construct. But my full-time gig is I work at Indiecade. I'm the Director of Partnership. I work with esports and business development. I also advocate a lot for underrepresented groups in the gaming space. Having said that, I have AAA experience and indie experience, so I like to imagine I'm well-rounded. Not so good at game design, much more better at budget design. So yeah, that's me. Next up, I believe we have Drew.
Hi, folks. So my name's Drew Erridge. I've been working with the IGDA board for about a year now. And I run my own consulting and contracting shop. We kind of do work for hire for mostly engineering and games. It's called Game Breaking Studios. And prior to that, I was working at Riot as an engineer for a little over 5 years. And before that, I was at USC in their computer science games program.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Brittany, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany. I'm, which she just said, I currently work as a freelance concept artist and art director. I went to Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, focused on both the visual development and animation in games. I started working on sports titles with THQ and 2K for the SmackDown vs. Raw series and for some UFC games. I then cut my teeth on a handful of years on independent games, stuff for TV, tabletop gaming illustrations, stuff like that. Burned out, lived in England, came back, worked on a lot of experimental AR and VR stuff. Got picked up by Snapchat for the last couple of years, working at the art director in the AR division for 3D Bitmoji, and have since been frolicking free as a bird, doing freelance stuff or whatever I want. So very
nice.
glad to be here.
And then next up, we have last but not least.
Hi, everyone. My name is Luis. I'm a mission designer at Respawn Entertainment. And prior to this, I was an indie developer for like several years doing the whole freelance thing. I ran my own co-op. And, before all of this, I was at 2K and Level 5 and kind of just sort of figuring out what games meant as a computer science grad several years back. But now I'm on the IGDA board. I've been here for 2 or 3 months at this point, and I'm excited to work for you all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luis. So first thing on our docket, like after introducing who we are, is kind of how the structure of the IGDA works, because that seems to be a bit of a mystery for a lot of people. And we like to refresh on this pretty regularly. So basically there's headquarters. It's similar to a bank or sorority or fraternity in terms of there's a overarching headquarters space, and then there's individual pockets that have their own rules and regulations. So think when you go to like Wells Fargo, if you go to the one in Santa Monica and you opened your account in Santa Monica, they know you personally, they have access to your balance, your home loan history, like all that stuff. You go to the branch in like Pasadena, there's going to be entirely different staff there. They might not know you as personally, but the same basic stuff is going to be there. They're still going to have access to your back end stuff. So it's kind of like that. HQ has access to a lot of things, but each chapter runs kind of individually. There's 2 chapter types, specifically chapters as we know them, and SIGs, or special interest groups. So some examples would be like Los Angeles, Orange County, the country of Finland. These are chapters. They're geographically based. Special interest groups are based on an affiliation, such as audio, QA, women in gaming, Latinx in gaming, LGBTQAI++ in gaming. And you can join any of these as part of your paid membership. You actually pick one that you affiliate with. And most of them, if you're unpaid, do still allow you to hang out there. We're the second largest in the world here in Los Angeles. We lost to the country of Finland. They did have a government subsidy. I speak to their like head of gaming regularly, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we paid for everyone's memberships for like 5 years so that we could win." And I'm like, "Okay, that's valid." So yeah, after that, that sort of is more the structure. If you have questions about it, please type them in chat. If you're on Twitch, feel free to type in the chat box there as well, and we'll roll back over there and try and catch them. Drew, you're covering our 2019 in review, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. So to start, I'll throw you a link because you guys can check this stuff out too in a little bit more detail. That's our year in review posted on the IGDA website. And you'll see some other blog post updates from us, hopefully, as the year rolls on. But we kicked off the year with a town hall, quite a lot like this one. But we were in person, and we drove way up in the mountains to the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena to host this in person and also online last year. And that was really great. That was actually where I started getting involved with the board. I went there because I was interested in what we were doing and what I could do to help. And so I came in and asked some questions about that and started getting involved in volunteering with the board, which was really awesome. Later in the year, one of our other big events was a sort of a career fair type event. It was for recruiting and networking. And this was a really successful event that we did over at Industrious, one of the co-working spaces in, was it Century City, I think?
Century City, yeah.
Yeah, and we had, I think, 15 different companies come out, and the recruiters come out to, interview people on site. We had folks there to do resume reviews. I think we had even some other people to help with professional development things, and we're really hoping to do something like this again. It was a great success. We couldn't actually fit all the people that wanted to come, and I wish we had more space at the venue, but hopefully we can do this again and bring it back with a vengeance this year. One of the other cool things that we did is a few of us went to the Hawkins High School Game Fair, which was a fun event. Chris actually was there as a judge, and IGDA had a table. They have their own little fair showing off student games, so that was a lot of fun. And we hosted a mixer before E3, which was pretty successful, and a lot of folks showed up. And then we started doing a different kind of meetup. We were thinking, what else can we do other than go out for drinks, which I'd love to do. But we started hosting these little coffee meetups that people really enjoyed, and it's kind of a more intimate, quieter space. And got a lot more time to meet folks sort of one-on-one. And I think we've caught a lot of the folks that are kind of moving into town, and they're like, what do I do? I'm a game developer in LA now. So that's been a lot of fun as well. And we kind of wrapped up with elections and bring on the new board you're seeing here, and some more of those kind of low-key meetups to just kind of get the community connected. So that was a wrap for 2019. More to look forward to in 2020.
Yep, and if I remember correctly, Luis, you're talking about our tentative 2020 calendar.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Was that the intro? I can just slide straight into it. So if any of you were around last month, in February, we had our first meetup of the year at Angel City. Would say that went pretty well. And we're planning on having more throughout the year, trying to figure out the schedule for that at the moment. For March, of course, as you all know, GDC kind of hasn't happened. It won't for the foreseeable future. But we were planning to have a game demo night that is now sort of also being pushed back. Kind of as our way of sort of giving back to the community, but also fulfilling on our sort of thoughts on having a demo night last year. In May, due to the same reasons, we're also pushing back our career fair, or at least changing the location of it. We had a venue secured, but the venue has dropped out due to COVID reasons, and so we have to respect that. As you get up to E3, or as we come up to E3, we're going to start having more of our industry-oriented events. And so in May, we have our career prep panel. I think it's called I Wish I Knew That. And it's for all of the questions that Drew kind of brought up very briefly. If you're a new developer to LA, if you're a student, a hobbyist, or kind of just want to refresh on some important things to know as you go into conferences and conventions and network, all the kind of stuff that you need to know. And then in June, we have our industry panel. And this is sort of like our way of, levying all of the connections that we all have in the industry, and bringing together a good sort of selection of people for all of the IGDA LA members to benefit from, ask questions from, and get to know in a professional setting. That's our tentative calendar as it is for the first half of the year. We have more events planned in store, but we're sort of, taking it easy one step at a time, and hoping that we can deliver on those so far.
Can I ask you sort of a couple quick notes?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and of course, and again, obviously, to everyone's surprise, in the past several weeks, not only was GDC challenges because of the coronavirus, in the case of our career fair, the venue has decided to call off all things there. And we're also kind of taking that as our signal of, even if we could land another physical venue, maybe we should cool it on in-person stuff until some of this settles out. So in place of that, rather than not having things going on, we will be looking at kind of the same sort of format we're leveraging here. But so, if we were planning to do a career fair, then we still try to do a career fair later in the year. But perhaps around that same time, we might have, think of a resume workshop, think of online in a webinar format like this, maybe a panel of people who talk about interview process, applying, networking, etc. So we're still going to try to deliver on the same objectives. But for the next month or two, while this is all still going on, we might be having more things like this. So it's part of what we're proving out today, that this can work. We can still interact with each other. We can still coordinate and collaborate. And we might even potentially at some point have some sort of more networking type arranged structure in which we can actually pull over many more people in this. Zoom as a platform can support 100 people simultaneously. There's reasons why it's not a great idea. But we could actually have kind of like hanging out at Angel City Brewery here at a giant Zoom chat. We might experiment with that later. But anyway, just a heads up, we might fill in some online stuff until we can do in person again.
And Chris is incredibly good at coordinating online things. He's literally built a career out of it. So we're very fortunate to have him to help us with the scaffolding underneath all of this. Speaking of scaffolding underneath everything, Brittany, do you want to talk about the benefits of paid membership? Because we are part of a larger international organization and they have the scaffolding underneath which on top of which we are built.
Absolutely. So I can actually go ahead and share a link to the IGDA website for a little bit more detail about what benefits befit you for being a member. I think the largest benefit of being with the IGDA is that you're part of a global community. We're one of, as was said before, we're one of 150 chapters and special interest groups all over the world, including Asia, the Middle East, the many countries, North and South America, everywhere. It's a way to stay in touch with people all over who share your interest in game dev. You can actually, I could just read this myself. I'll summarize this. So we have some discounts. You can enjoy savings on things like Unity Plus and Unity Pro. You can save 10% on the GDC Vault. You can save 25% on game development books from the CRC Press. You can get in touch with mentors, meeting one-on-one. The IGDA sponsors mentor cafes where you can have those conversations on whatever matters to you. You can join over 25, I think, SIGs, analytics, women in games, games education, whatever you want. We've recently have a Discord where you can do that kind of thing online since the transmission of bacteria isn't very cool right now. And in general, you can stay informed. You can subscribe to the IGDA newsletter. If you are a paid member, you get to enjoy some benefits that you may not know you can already, such as exercising the right to vote for the people to represent you locally and internationally. Just please make sure you check it out. You might be surprised by what benefits you have already waiting for you.
And just to tap onto that, there's a tangible benefit of paid membership is paid only events. So on screen, you actually have a photo of one we did last year. There's an opportunity, an opportunity afforded to paid members that was not afforded to unpaid members of our local chapter. And that was a booth at E3. We had a fully paid for 10 by 10 E3 booth with badges included, with electricity, Wi-Fi, that desk thing that's on screen, chairs, and lit signage, and it was next to the main stage. I know that sounds kind of like, okay, why do we care? We can all go to E3, but like the street value of that booth is insane. I recommend you Google how much it costs to show at E3. And we actually had games submit, and we curated a collection of games and offered them space in the booth. So that's an example of a paid only benefit that we here in LA have, and we are incredibly fortunate to have compared to other chapters globally. Sorry for jacking that a little, Brittany. I apologize. I'm just super excited about this image because we found it earlier today.
No, I love the energy.
And then, questions and stuff. And then Miranda, improvements on board operations. I believe that you're next up on that.
Yeah. All right. So one of the things that we're working on right now is establishing a new safe space and anti-harassment policy. We'll be sharing that with our chapter, and we'll have it posted at all of our events. Part of that will also be a new requirement for wearing name tags at any of our events, just so that we're able to keep track of who is at the event and who's with our group. Because sometimes we host events at public spaces where random people can just kind of walk up. So we just want to make sure that we know who's part of our group. And we're also coming up with an anonymous reporting form that will be available at all of our events, posted with a QR code, so you can just scan it. And if you're dealing with someone who's making you uncomfortable, or if someone's just not being a great community member and breaking our policies, you can go ahead and report them, and then we'll work on figuring out what to do and removing people from the event, or removing people from from our chapter if that's what it takes. But also, we are all here for you. So if you're at an event and something's going on or you're feeling uncomfortable, feel free to talk to any of the board members. And we're really dedicated to making sure everyone is welcome and comfortable at our event.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And then Chris? Yeah.
So I wanted to share about IGDA at the headquarters level. If we go back to the org chart slide that Tiffany shared, sort of the mothership, created a whole new structure for our websites. And part of what's great about being able to leverage that HQ level of visibility is that they dominate SEO. So if you go to Google and you just type in IGDA Los Angeles, the very first thing, I don't understand how they did it, is that new website for IGDA Los Angeles. And so we've been using that space already. We've got 3 articles up there. The first one, of course, welcome to our new platform. Here's what we're going to do with it. The very next post was a summary of our 2019 stuff, including some videos. And so we've been trying to do a better job of documenting, capturing on video the stuff that we're doing. Even these online interactions, we'll probably, like I'm screen recording right now, post it to YouTube so people can, after the fact, see what we've been up to. And as part of that, you can find those on the IGDA LA HQ site. And then the most recent one is the calendar. And not only is it the calendar, it's also, we're updating that page. So as soon as we found out that our career fair event had to pull out because of the virus, we updated that on that site, which is to say at any given time, if you're wondering what's our current calendar, that calendar there is being kept up to date. That's a place you can find it and see it. Also, I know that Tiffany's been doing a lot of data gathering. We were just at a DreamHack. She was interviewing a bunch of people about their booth details. We'll be publishing some articles about things like that to that space as well. So it's a good place to keep an eye on. Of course, whenever we do those, we'll also be blasting that out to our Facebook, probably some other platforms. We'll try to get better at posting to Twitter. The easy way to find that again is actually just go to Google. Easier than the URL is just Google IGDA space Los Angeles, and it is that site. Or TinyCC, I'll type it over here, tiny.cc. I set up a little redirect. That should also pull you up to that site if you want to check out those pages. And yeah, that's what's up there so far. We look forward to using that. If you have other ideas for what you'd like to see there, as always with any of this, let us know. It is there for us to help the community, and maybe that takes a different shape than we're thinking of right now. We'd love to hear about your ideas for it, but that is new and in use.
So diving into that data analytics thing that Chris was talking about, this is something I'm very passionate about, and I've sort of spearheaded. As everybody knows, IGDA HQ does like the biggest sort of quality of life in the gaming industry survey in our industry. They also do all the surveys on like Crunch and all of that joyful stuff that we get. And that made me think like, oh, data analytics is a thing. We should be doing that. And so what we want to do is we're trying to gather more information about, we're starting with indies because, a lot of us have indie experience and that's super accessible for us to, get information on. AAA tends to be a little more close to the chest. But so we're getting analytics on how people are using booth space, how they're getting exposure, and what they're doing with that and what the cost of it is. What's the cost benefit? Should I show at Mega Booth? Should I show at Boston Fig? What does it actually cost to get into E3? Like, how can I get my, 2-man studio, the kind of exposure I want to be the next Stardew Valley? We want to start finding data to do that. And so part of that is leveraging the platform that Chris talked about, HQ, and their site integration with like lots of charts. If you've attended an event since October 2018, you've noticed there's been a lot of sign-in charts with like analytics questions, and then there's been graphs and stuff you have to fill out. And we're taking that data, crunching it only in the aggregate, no personally identifying data is being distributed in such a way that we can make blog posts and actually create meaningful data for the community. In addition, we've changed our event mix. As Luis mentioned earlier, we realized not everybody who's in game dev is a male from 18 to 22. Shocking, I know. So that means not everybody wants to go to happy hour all the time. So we're looking for accessibility because we think accessibility is incredibly important for 2020 and beyond. What that means is finding places that have naturally vegan food as well as carnivorous food, doing ice cream socials, doing daytime events, weekday events, as well as weekend events. Things in places like downtown where we did Angel City, or like we're looking at spots in K-Town, just generally increasing accessibility as a whole. And as part of that, we need the community to help us. So we've reopened for volunteers. We always need volunteers. You don't need to be on the board, and I don't believe you need to be a paid member to volunteer. We have a whole volunteers channel on our board Discord. And so if something's passionate to you, like we spoke to somebody recently who's like, I just want more stuff on Twitch. And we all went, if you know how Twitch works and you're good at Twitch, you can be our Twitch Lord. Go ahead. So we want to reopen. We've reopened for volunteers, and we also want to hear what you guys are doing. There's been some great stuff posted in our Facebook group about events that other game communities are having in the area, whether it's schools or I believe Game Workers Unite posts quite a bit. Like, we want that. Like, please continue posting in our socials so that we can signal boost your message as much as we can. You know, there's a code of conduct at the top of the Facebook page. Recommend checking it. Like, obviously don't spam the page, but we're super excited to get involved with your events and sort of see how we can help, leverage what we have going on to help you guys. And then speaking of call for volunteers, I believe David has more information on that and other ways to get involved. Oh no, is his mic muted?
David, you're muted.
David, you're muted.
About that.
No
Okay,
worries.
I'm here. So yeah, there are a lot of ways to get involved with the IGDA and the Los Angeles game community in general, just by showing up, attending our mixers and other events. There was one time where I attended an IGDA event, and I met a game audio person, and we exchanged visit cards. And later, I went and checked out their website, and wound up a year later hiring them to work on a project. So attending our events is a great way to share your expertise, share your experience, share your good company, and expand your contacts. But even more so, we rely on outside help to do things. We're all of us board members all have outside things going on, so we need your help in doing the things we want to do. And the different ways you can help is being a volunteer, vendor, panel speaker, and to kind of explain how those opportunities differ. One time before I became a board member, I was approached by a IGDA board member to ask for help in putting together a paper prototyping event. And so it was held at the John Anson Ford Theater. They couldn't make it to meet with the people there, so I served as a volunteer, checking out the site, meeting with the people at the Ford Theater, and arranging things. And then during the event, I was a vendor in that I brought supplies from the Los Angeles Film School to be used for making games, and then also served as a panel speaker, speaking with a couple of other game designers in talking about game design before we actually proceeded with the event. And that's the sort of help we need. If you're interested in doing something, contact us. And if it's either an event we already plan or an event that you're suggesting, we can work together, and we could use your assistance in arranging for venues. Finding venues is a big deal for us, whether it's for a mixer or for a panel event or some other type of event. Finding good topics that you want to have events around, speakers for those events. Really lots of different ways to get involved. You all can probably even think of more ways than I could suggest. So if you are interested in participating, please contact us, and we're more than happy to have your assistance.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, David. Like, it's so true. Everything we do, it requires volunteers and stuff, because we are a volunteer-run nonprofit. We are a 501c6 chapter of a 501c3 organization. And so we've talked a bit about being a paid or an unpaid member. A large percentage of our membership here in LA is unpaid, and that's cool. That's why we have social events. We want to get involved. A lot of people say that, the cost is prohibitive, and I totally get that. Having said that, though, there's tons of scholarship opportunities. If you go to igda.org/membership, you can see like the different breakdowns of membership. It's only $5 a month, less if you're a student. There's memberships for like lifetime membership if you want to pay in a lump sum, which we did the cost benefit like calculation when it pays for yourself, and it was like something like 5 years. And then there's also scholarships for if you're in a space where you can't afford a full membership, such as having been laid off recently or unemployed or something like that. Being a paid member does support the mission. And that's, we're probably the biggest chapter by unpaid membership, but we're the second biggest by paid membership. And that money does go into programs like the IGDA Scholarship Fund, the foundation, which brings underrepresented groups to attend like game developers conferences and stuff. And they're also actually running a fund right now for people who were affected by coronavirus and GDC and can't, get reimbursed as a result. There's events that we do that everyone can come to, and membership gets you into other events as well, or having a reduced cost. We previously had an event with the Writers Guild a couple years ago, I believe. And, member tickets were cheaper than non-member tickets. And so we're trying to increase our programming to such a way that your paid membership pays for itself even faster. In addition, as I mentioned before with that cool little photo from E3, there's paid only activities and opportunities. Like, as much as I would love to give all of our opportunities to everybody, there are benefits to being a paid member because that money does come back down to our local chapter, through different grants and impact grants. We were able to run our career fair last year based on an impact grant that HQ gave us from the money that comes from dues. We are able to put on better events if we have more paid members that put LA as their top chapter. So having said that, if you have more questions about that, please feel free to go to igda.org/membership or drop a question in the comments. We'll see if we happen to know the answer. Speaking of questions in the comments, if you have any questions, that's sort of the formal part of the presentation done. And please throw things up using Q&A. I believe Chris has a couple polls ready to go. And if you're asking questions on Twitch, we'll check on that too.
Yeah, so we'll do these while we... first off, we're going to re-spin up the original poll because we first asked when there were only 9 people here. And now, fortunately, we're doing better than that in terms of numbers. So I'm going to relaunch this poll, clearing the results. And it's just a curiosity measure. And again, you're welcome to hear, like most of our networking events, if you're not a paying member, it does just help our data to know, are you a paying member? Not yet. Not sure. Occasionally, we have people who come to our events and they literally don't know. They might have done it years ago. They're not sure. But that just helps us to find out. It's a good chance to get engaged. And of course, remember, you can use that Q&A to add some questions. We're going to start stacking up and answering soon. And once I see a decent number of us have chimed in. Also, I'm really pleased to say, as the person who's kind of supposed to be responsible for schedule of this particular event, we're basically on time. Look at that. Pretty pleased. Right on track despite our kind of late start. And so it looks like out of the folks who were able to weigh in, I will post those results. We had about 75% still, even with more of us. I don't know if the 80% was an artifact of who showed up early. Still, actually, pretty impressive. Pretty great to have you here. Awesome. So let me also share, I think we should have another poll that I can pull up. This one's actually a whole combination of questions. So I hope you feel ready for the quiz is coming out. This is a few different questions that I've, as learning the platform, grouped together coming from Drew. Thank you, Drew, for these questions. But for these ones where it's roles, they are check all that apply. Since I know a bunch of you, like myself, cross skill, maybe 1 or 2 kinds of jobs, or used to be one, and now mainly wear another hat. If you're an indie, feel free to check as many apply to you. And, I'm going to take a moment to fill this out too. Other panelists, I encourage you. Did it show up for y'all too?
By the way, I think everybody can see my screen, so have fun with that. Y'all get to see what I'm answering live.
Actually, Tiffany, at this point, if you want to unshare Tiffany, we'll have up our Brady Bunch set of faces while we are checking some boxes here, participating. How many IGD events you've been to?
So, by the way, just on a QA level, so Zoom told me I was only sharing the tab with the PowerPoint in it. And then I was informed I am not. So that is a flaw in Zoom's programming. That it does not work.
Lesson learned.
Good thing I was just checking our Twitch stream for questions.
Right on. Part of our video is definitely me flipping my screen recording earlier or some silliness.
Sorry, everyone.
Biggest opportunity. All good. You know what? I have strong feelings about what we should do. So, okay, I've weighed in. Looks like 13 of 19 people have weighed in so far. I know at least one person's joined us from phone, maybe several people. I know it can make it tough. But if I'll give people maybe a couple more minutes. If anybody else has other Q&A want to add, that button down bottom can be used. And actually, I want to remind folks too, before we kind of kicked off, before some other people made it, we had people introducing themselves in chat. I want to encourage you, do that again in chat. There are more people here will see it. More people here are there. Didn't get it there earlier. Super welcome. Mention your website. Mention your company by name. Mention where your line of work is if you're looking for work, etc. The one note on that though, make sure you check the box where it says 2: defaults to all panelists, and then only the board sees it, which we love to know. But if you switch that to all panelists and attendees, everyone here also can see it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, from how it's streamed, that's not going out to our Facebook, but the Twitch is getting it from how that's hooked up.
The Twitch is live. You can see it on the Twitch.
Well.
I'm watching the Twitch.
Excellent. But yeah, so if folks want to introduce themselves
stream?
there. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to share our poll results, and let's all check out our friends. More designers. Now, again, it's a little ambiguous here as to how many of those are also wearing other hats. I know I certainly got started as I was a designer who didn't want to have to lean on another programmer. That was my sort of starting point. So I was very much in that camp. But, you know, it is cool to see such a cross section. I will say, actually, I'm actually a little surprised we don't see any sound people here. At our networking events, we've got several sound people who are out there pretty consistently. We love them. Part of our community, too. We're not missing them. They just happen to seem like not the one that they're at here with us. But we do have a good cross
I think this might be the only event I've ever been to where I haven't seen like the sound squad.
Literally true. For years, I've been going to these events. Yes. And the same people I see everywhere. Sound people turn out to be, I think a lot of them are freelance, so they have to be out there. Good networkers.
They're good at networking. We should make a panel where they tell us their secrets.
Yeah. Let's see. How many events you've been to? Good numbers here from folks. Types of events you'd like to see more of. Lots of panels. And I'm happy to see that a majority of people are okay with online events. And again, this is a making lemonade situation here of venues are getting trickier to lock down in the near future. But awesome. Sweet. And it looks like we do have a couple of questions that were kind of people use the Q&A stuff for. Let me check those out. One's asking, just putting together, see, last time engaged with IGDA was over a decade ago. Welcome back.
Welcome.
What's new in the association? How do I get involved? I feel like we've hit some of those, but if anyone wants to kind of like summary point those, I feel like Tiffany, you're probably super on top of that particular set of answers.
Of how we can get involved?
Ways to get involved, or Dave, anybody wants to speak to ways that, especially if not a board member. We touched volunteers earlier. Some concrete examples of like photography is a thing that if somebody's up for that.
If you know how a camera works or how streaming works, please talk to me. Please email la@igda.org immediately. So, for example, for our career fair last time, like all jokes, it's not a joke, all hyperbole aside, we tried finding some professional photographers to donate their time because this career fair was very much inspired by the layoffs at Activision Blizzard. And we had a very lean budget for this event, and we used a lot of it on, acquiring resources for everybody. We could not find a photographer to capture the event for us. I got laughed out of a photography group for asking. Luckily, Chris has more cameras than almost anybody I know and was gracious enough to take some media of the event. But what that did, though, is it made it, since he was doing media, we didn't have enough people on the door. And Drew and a couple volunteers were running the door. And it was just like, oh my God, we have 100 people here and we don't have enough hands to check everybody in. And part of our agreement with the venue was we had to have a record of everybody who came in because it's in the same building as a consulate. You see how we're like, man, if you know how to use a camera, you'd be really useful. We were throwing around the idea of doing headshots, especially for people from underrepresented groups for free. So we would need a photographer who knows how to do that. Stuff like that. So if you have a skill, whether it's like you play too much Fortnite and really understand Twitch's interface, please contact me because I do not. An example from my own life is like, I come from the business world, not the development world. And that means I'm super knowledgeable about things like business cards and handshakes and schmoozing, which a lot of people, it turns out, wanted assistance in. And we have an accountant. We know an accountant who just loves working with game studios, and he does a lot of pro bono stuff for us. And we have a lawyer and a venture capitalist and an influencer person who can give advice. So whatever your specialty is, I'm sure we have a need for it. That's how you can get involved.
Yeah, and I want to add too, this is one thing where obviously the people who come to IGDA events, rarely is this the only networking event that you're plugged into or the only groups that you're plugged into. A lot of you also go to your local meetups, other sort of things like that. At any given time, you have a network that it might be fellow sound designers, fellow engineers, fellow business people, fellow people who work at AAA or startups or any otherwise. And there are things you take for granted as just knowledge among your circles that would really benefit people who are new to the community, people who are getting started, people coming out of college, etc. And if you reach out to us and you're like, hey, there's several of us we'd like to find an opportunity to talk at. we can try to weave together timing for that, logistics for that, audience for that, reaching out to our groups and so on. Part of why there's 7 of us is to try to pull together our collective networks. Still, there are obviously many more of you than there are of us, and we all know different people in the giant Venn diagram that is LA professional network. And so that's also where you can add value. Is just like, I know a lot of people who've been, I don't know, GDC volunteers, and then speaking to what that's like and how they hook that up and tips on applying so we can get work from LA, etc. Whatever it is, let us know.
I got my job through volunteering for IGDA. I got my full-time job because I was volunteering with IGDA at an event, at another event. And somebody's like, you know what numbers are. You should work for this company. And I was like, okay.
Speaking of things that are squarely under your skill set, Greg's asking where you should design and order business cards.
Oh, how convenient. We recently did a cost-benefit analysis. Brittany, do you want to take point on this question?
I guess I could. Yeah. So I could start by saying that fortunately, you don't have to be a designer to design a business card. Many outlets such as Moo, Next Day Flyers, which is conveniently an LA local company if you prefer to support local, as well
I picked them up same day.
Yeah, as well as they and Vistaprint are actually very used to the next day. Like, oh God, the convention is in 2 days. I really need my cards right now. So they're very, very friendly about that, and they have design services built in. You can also create and put together your own stuff on the browser. Like, you're very well equipped for that. You can probably, depending on how many bells and whistles you want on your card, you can pay either between $15 and say $25 for up to 250 cards, which is for many people plenty. So it's fantastic. It's affordable. For our cards recently, we had a really great turnaround, delivered promptly. Fantastic.
It was less than 20 hours from swiping the credit card to me showing up on Zoom, like literally holding the cards. Like,
and they were beautiful.
I'm sure Chris has one on Quick Draw. Oh my God, Miranda wins. Yes, champion.
Oh my gosh, the dramatic Zoom.
It's like The Office. But yeah, so all jokes aside, from the, Brittany designed this beautiful card. She did an amazing break even on all the cards and a compare and contrast of 3 different companies. And we found out for us, the best way for the business cards to be professional yet affordable was Next Day Flyers. And literally from me swiping the credit card online as treasurer to me having like a screenshot shared in our Discord and making stupid faces on Zoom was 20 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was great. So if anyone, just personally, because I love critting as an art director, if you have a business card that you're working on and you want my eyes and ears on it and a scathing or gentle bit of feedback on it, please feel free to email me or DM me on Twitter or social media.
Oh my God, guys, we could do an American Psycho themed event where we all show business cards and grade them.
Yes. So I'm glad you mentioned how to reach us. So there's also another thing that's also new from HQ is that they've created a Discord it's an enormous Discord because it's all the IGDA chapters.
Yes,
so at first it could be
we'll get an LA channel.
We have an LA channel. You can hide entire groups of the other hundreds of things because it can be overwhelming in there. We do occasionally check out in there as well. So that's also a space to get to know each other and so on. I don't know. Actually, I bet I can probably pull up a link to that without too much trouble. Unless, was that a paid membership access only thing? Does somebody know? Before I share a link to the invite.
Yeah,
I have absolutely no idea.
You can join and then you confirm by sharing in a certain channel your member ID. And then that's what allows you to view the litany of chat channels.
Okay, great.
I'm sure there's some publicly facing stuff. And if HQ's one isn't publicly facing, I know that we have a Facebook page, Facebook, which is publicly facing. And we can have a little American Psycho Grill Fest in there. That would be a great digital event, actually, Chris, don't you think? Everyone
yes, although
shows
to be honest,
mock-ups?
I'm mostly smiling and nodding as I created an invite for this thing. So there's the invite for what I sure hope is the Discord for IGDA.
And Molly beat us to the punch, it looks like. Thank you, Molly, for doing
thank you.
Champion, thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, so feel free to DM us, DM me, DM anyone, all your friends, get connected. It's yet another wonderful IGDA membership perk.
And maybe it goes without saying, again, the Los Angeles channel there is just sort of just getting started in terms of we check in on occasionally, post some things, introduce stuff there, etc. The rest of it is all thriving communities of like developers who are in design channels, audio channels, getting career started channels. Doesn't matter where they are in the world. They are out there chatting and so on, and you're equal welcome. Find the niche that plugs into you. Part of what we're about as a networking community is helping to find the people we should be talking to, and that Discord is another vehicle to do that just as conveniently as this from home on your computer. You got a few hours here and there.
And I will say the SIGs are very well populated, the special interest SIGs. They tend to be very active because they don't even think about meeting up in person. They just kind of act on the internet. Well, because like your QA SIG, it's not LA dependent. The chair might be in LA or something, but the special interest SIGs are global. So for example, there's talk about making an esports SIG right now. And I know that all the people for the executive board of that SIG are LA locals, specifically West Side locals, specifically live within 10 minutes of me locals. But the people who've shown interest in that SIG are everywhere from like Russia to Chile to Australia. So like special interest SIGs are not geographically locked. I don't know. I don't remember if I said that properly at the beginning, but those tend to be very active at all times of day because of time zones.
It's wonderful. I mean, there's so many different benefits to being a member to this. You can literally pick and choose in a way that suits your interests, your needs, your goals. This is your community.
Yeah, and I think I like to add in there too of in case it's not obvious from all the stuff, like it is a nonprofit. It exists for the benefit of the community and for its members. It's something you can actually like feel good about the $5 a month going to help people who are in situations where they are trying to find work. They're trying to get started. They're trying to make connections. They're moving between cities. A lot of our membership move into LA from other cities, don't know what else to do, but they recognize IGDA because they knew one was in New York or they knew one was in Chicago, knew one was in Florida or Russia or England. And so they find us that way. Likewise, connecting your community here when you relocate elsewhere, it's a natural base camp to then plug into the Seattle group, the Austin group, the Orlando group, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, I can personally say, so sorry, I'm more of a qualitative person when it comes to this stuff. So I'm not originally from the United States. I'm from Australia originally, and I went to college in Boston. I went to a school which had nothing remotely resembling a game program. I knew nothing about it. I moved to LA not knowing a soul, and I was studying for grad school, also in business, not games. And I basically was like, how do I get into games in Los Angeles? And this was like 100 years ago. The internet was not as robust as it is now. And basically it was like, join the IGDA. And I Googled it, seemed legit, looked for a local meetup where I could like meet up with people who didn't have a paid membership yet. I paid $5 at the door to enter a panel. I think it was some famous designers or something speaking on the panel. I don't even remember who was there, but I remember a former member of the board, Charles Babb, came up to me and started talking to me and was super nice. And this is like years before Chris joined the board. Like this is like 100 years ago. And he was super nice and was like, yeah, come get involved. And then later I ended up getting my proof of industry for E3 through it. And then I came to another random IGDA meetup. I met Chris. I met a bunch of other people. I ended up volunteering, got my first job in LA in the industry. Like the networking is just insane. And Chris and I actually spoke about the accessibility of this recently. It's one of the few ways, if you don't know anybody yet, you can start making those connections that bear fruit a few years later.
And I realized too, obviously, like a majority of people in the call have said, like, y'all are already with us, certainly at least joining us live, who are paying members in IGDA.
But Twitch is not.
For sure, yeah.
Whoever's watching on Twitch.
People who watch this video in the VOD later. But I do want to add there, again, kind of a non-obvious thing for, like I mentioned, when you're moving somewhere else, there's chapters elsewhere. That same Discord that I was like, hide all those channels elsewhere. If you're going to be in New York City or you're going to be in Seattle or you're going to be somewhere else in Germany, check out the channel for that. You might mention, hey, I'm going to be over there this date to that date. What else is going on out there? And that's a great way that like people traveling to LA find out about, like, there's a great meetup happening at Glitch, or there's a cool thing happening over this side of town, or don't miss out on that. And easy way to make some friends because they're like, yeah, IGDA people.
You got your tribe. Yeah, you got your tribe. It pays for itself very quickly.
Mm.
We've got another question for speaking of paying. How are efforts coming along to get companies to allow more WFH? I'm assuming work for hire.
Or work from home? Is that work from home?
That makes more sense. Work from home. Yeah.
Is it work for hire? Is it work from home? Somebody in the chat, give us.
I think it's work for home. We can have some confirmation, but how about a threat of a pandemic that helps? I mean, if I was going to say it's right now.
Yeah, I forget At least one company I already saw on the Twitter earlier today, which I'm not going to try to scroll and find it.
I'm ready for GDC.
But the at least one major company has already switched to people working remotely from home. Obviously, services like this,
Microsoft and Amazon.
What my own company does is fully through Zoom meetings and Slack and Trello and so on. Part of what's happened, right, is that these are services that have all been, fortunately, the groundwork laid and functional and in use. And more companies are discovering that this is pretty workable. And so it is for when people can. There's more working from home going on. Obviously, we're going to have yet to see how long that's the factor. Is this a case for a month, for 2 months? Longer term, we don't know yet. Are there certain types of roles where there won't be a match for? I will say in my groups, it tends to be very programmer heavy. It's easier sometimes for our people to throw a thing over the wall and document their Git commit than certain other kinds of work. It does certainly help to be in an office talking to each other. And so I'm sure we'll see some changes from those dynamics. But that's
my job is business development. That means my actual job is throwing business cards at people, shaking hands, and going to incredibly awkward corporate dinners where I get asked whose wife I am. That is incredibly difficult to do digitally. Like, I am very concerned about how money's going to start flowing around the industry now that the people who broker partnerships can't see each other anymore. So much of that is like boots on the ground.
Yeah, there's definitely a shift going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That being said, if you want to see that, there is opportunity to create that. There are people like Chris who are working, just paving the way exactly how they want to. And there's just like, get on the cutting edge if you want to see it, be it. There are a lot of people who completely agree with you and understand that it's sustainable, for specific lines of work. It's a great idea.
Yeah. And then the challenge becomes like needing to go for a walk down the block once a day, because otherwise, like, my walking down the stairs.
Yeah, there's the cabin.
Co-working's real. Co-working's real.
Well, and free workers and contract freelancers and contractors certainly know this, the millennial hustle too, of what we categorize it like having 5 or 6 quarter jobs at any given time. Like, one finishes and you're fishing for the next one. And obviously there's plenty of people in LA making that lifestyle work as part of it. Also, they're doing auditions, and it's LA. Trying. That's right. But yeah, aside from all that, I think we've got our questions answered. We've about an hour after we started, which is our target point. Does anyone have any like closing thoughts, either from chat? You want to mention yourselves again, link to your stuff one last time. Anybody on the board want to say some things in closing?
I have a quick note, actually. If you are a paying IGDA member, the board of directors election closes tonight. So if you haven't put in your vote, now is probably
and
the
that's
time
for HQ.
Yes, that's for HQ. So the tippity top of that pyramid.
Can someone help find a link and post it in the chat, maybe?
It's actually just arrived in my email.
Yes, they have to do it through their email, because the email will be their ballot specific password.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And one thing, Chris, can we do one more poll where we ask who's working from home already?
Yes, we can. 1 second. That will take a moment for me to plug in because of how that's done.
I can talk while you go behind the curtain.
Yeah.
So I actually do have a serious question. For those of you who have Twitch accounts, so we are trying to get our Twitch presence up a bit so we can get some customization stuff over there. And so, having said that, I am going to share one window and hope it works this time. Wish me luck. If you could go to our Twitch channel, which is now on the screen, and subscribe to us or follow or whatever it is, the free one, not the paid one. That would be really helpful, because the more users we have on that, then later when it unlocks achievements that allow us to do more customization and do more stuff, I would really appreciate
I'll do one more and post the link in the chat for those who prefer to just click.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't think about that. I'm a visual learner.
This is for the visual learners, and this is for the clicking learners. So accessibility.
Oh, and studies show that with 3 points of input, you'll be better at it. So on a verbal level, it's twitch.tv/IGDA-LA. I'm really proud of us for getting our username on literally every platform that we can.
Yeah, we are everywhere.
All right, so we'll see if this works. I'm gonna try to trick it because technically our event ended, and so it wasn't happy about me trying to add a question just from
we can do the hand raising thing.
No, but I think I hijacked it. Now my answers to this are weird because I literally obviously made this up right now. Let me just double check it in. Let's see. Yeah, all right. So you know what? Hold on, I'll make one more change to it. Sorry. And it won't let me. So you know what? I'm going to post this poll. Two of the answers are basically the same, but you know what? You can check all that apply. Can you, or is it radio? No, it's radio. All right. Well,
it's radio buttons.
Yeah, whatever. We can do some mental maths. The two that are sort of like I do some work from home, some in office. I guess are basically the same as one of the other options. But I'm just trying to feel out. I know some people have like, oh, I work from home 2 days a week, or I have a side gig I do from work from home, but my main job is in an office. And this just and some people are like 100% of the office all the time. Still currently, you know what? I just realized I don't have an answer for don't. That would have been a good one for me to add. But
well,
that's
we can see where your bias is. We can see where your bias is.
Obviously, that's the world I live in. I have all of my several jobs are from home, so that's my life. But yeah, I guess we're seeing some decent data there. We've got 13 of 18. If anybody else wants to weigh in, including some poll people, which I guess I can do too. Submit.
But yeah. So this is an example, like we just want more data this year. We're super happy. There's a whole 7 of us. That's so cool. And like
the Voltron.
Yes. And we don't all look the same, which is excellent.
I know. It's amazing.
Which, and if nothing else, this is something that's obviously true across every axis. I think it's important that people find on the board people who they can relate to in terms of whether it's cultural background, whether it's age demographic, whether it's skill sets that they are interested in, whether it's size of company they're interested in. As part of I'm proud we are so many different axes on this group that there's probably somebody here you can talk to about like, I got questions from some things we've been through respectively. And that's great.
Yeah. And we're going to look into making an anonymous submissions box using like an anonymized Google form. Wow. Everybody works from home. That's not in any way shocking considering we're on a Zoom call. But sorry, we're going to look into putting an anonymized link. So there's the one that was spoken about earlier, which is like for code of conduct failures, which will be at all events. And then there's the one that we're going to try and put up through Google Forms on Facebook, which is like suggestions, improvements, things you don't feel comfortable having attached to your name. And it'll be pinned to the top of our Facebook page. So it can be something as simple as I hate Zoom, use Google Hangouts, or as complicated as like, man, I wish there were more panels about being a better ally. And I'm like, okay, that's a more complicated long-term one.
I also welcome compliments. Let us know what we're doing right so we can feel like this is...
I strongly don't want... that's...
Yeah, I'm like, just tear us down. No, give us...
No, please don't. I'm a soft, squishy marshmallow inside. Please don't.
But I feel like... On that excellent note to end on of compliment us and let us know what else we can do to better serve you all. We should probably wrap up for the night. It's been an hour. Thanks everyone for your patience and our kind of little bit of rough start as we're getting used to this platform as it might be our home for the next month or two, depending on LA's state of emergency progress. Everyone stay safe. Thank you for being here tonight or catching the video if you join us later. Thank you everyone who's a part of IGDA, helping the community be successful.
Bye.
That's what it's all about. Bye,
we'll
everybody.
see you on the internet.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.